Hey friends, Irene Lyon here. Welcome to this video, to this channel, and to this world of healing trauma, nervous system health, and all things neuroplasticity. I wanted to share a video clip I did on Instagram a little while ago because it got a lot of good just feedback, and people were grateful for me breaking down why it doesn't always work to calm ourselves down by slowing our breath down. I know that if you have been following me for a while, you know I'm not a big advocate for breath work. Doesn't mean that we cannot notice our breath, doesn't mean we might not work with our breath, but there are some very important distinctions and differentiations and levels of discernment, lots of D's there, to understand when we might choose to use our breath and control our breath to put us into a certain physiological state. So have a listen and enjoy the learning.
Hey friends, Irene here, coming in for another quick, I don't know if this is a tip, but more a piece of education. And it's to clarify breathing and breath. So a few of you know that I am not a big proponent of hardcore breath work and using breath only. I'm going to protect my butt here. Only using breath as a strategy for calming ourselves down and regulating our nervous system. And something caught my eye a little while ago, and it was a post from someone else saying that breathing is a great way to regulate our nervous system and bring ourselves into the parasympathetic and the rest digest, and we just have to slow our breath down and breathe and pause. And sometimes this is true. This works for me, and I have got baseline regulation on board already, and I have a large window of tolerance, and I've done a lot of work, and I can track myself. But let's just say someone is living and they don't realize it, because usually at first you don't realize if you're in a functional freeze state. Let's say someone is living in some kind of deep dysregulation. Maybe it's a complex post-traumatic stress situation where they are really in a deep shutdown in this high tone dorsal of the parasympathetic, which I talk about. Check out my other videos on the Polyvagal to learn what that is. But let's just say someone's living in that kind of deep autonomic dysregulation, chronic illness, autoimmune, severe dissociation, gut problems, autoimmune, like I said, just really deep dysregulation, where they're living more in that deep dorsal state. Deep, slow, calm breath might feel okay, but it also might put that person into more dorsal shutdown, because rest digest isn't just the parasympathetic. There are two parts, well, there's actually three parts to the parasympathetic. The ventral facing, so if I make funny faces to you and do things, you might laugh, you might be offended, or you might play along with me, right? So the ventral is part of our parasympathetic, which often gets missed. But then the other part, the dorsal branch of the parasympathetic, has a high tone and a low tone. When people say do deep breathing to put yourself into rest digest, it's the low tone dorsal that gives us the good juju and the repair. I'm wanting to just keep talking about this because it's so the misinformation is rampant right now. So here's me saying this is how it works. The high tone dorsal of the parasympathetic is that shutdown. So if someone is in that complex post-traumatic stress situation, autoimmune, chronic illness, dysregulation, yada, 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 them going into deep breathing patterns may not necessarily help because they're in a shutdown state. They may need a little more activation, what we would call neurostimulation, if we think of the sequencing of neuroplastic healing, which is what I get into in some of my ebooks and in what I teach. So there needs to be sometimes more active, engaging with the environment so that they can calm down. We need to bring in that ventral vagal of the parasympathetic. And so this is why I don't, and I never will, just give you a blanket statement, take a few calm, deep breaths, and slow it all down. The person might already be so damn slow in their system, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It's in that dorsal shutdown so much that they need activation. They need to make some funny faces. They need to maybe do some toning. They maybe need to grrr and growl. Maybe they need to clap their hands and dance a bit. Maybe they need to do a little boogie or something like that. Maybe they need to be in a warm bath to feel blood circulating to their limbs, because all the blood is concentrated in the core and there's no circulation, right? So I just wanted to pop in quickly to one, this is why I do not offer those sorts of blanket, just take a deep breath and calm yourself, because that'll totally re-regulate your nervous system. It's absolute horseshit. It isn't that way. I wish it was that simple. If it was that simple, all people who just take deep breaths and calm down will be healed and fully regulated, and that's not the way it is. So you have to learn where you are on the spectrum, and we need to learn not just one tip and trick, but lots and lots of them to connect with our body and the environment, because this is what spiritual bypass is, right? Is bypassing. It's kind of not the right term, but we're going into less biological things and more mental constructs, maybe spiritual constructs, to calm ourselves, and we're bypassing. What we're actually bypassing is the biology and where the autonomic nervous system rests in its now wired state. We can rewire this stuff, but we can't rewire it by just getting calm all the time and breathing. Sometimes we need to do that. Sometimes, if we're needing to calm ourselves down, maybe we know slowing our breath down because it's gotten a little high. Yes, if you're consciously aware of that, but trying to just breathe slowly and deeply to regulate the nervous system isn't always going to work. Sometimes, if you're already in good regulation, to just calm the system down. But if the system is in disarray and in that chaotic dysregulation, it's not going to serve a very good purpose. If anything, it's going to fool the person into thinking they're getting more calm when really they're driving themselves more into that dissociation and functional freeze. So I'm going to sign off. Just a real quick one today. Wanted to make that point because it's important. So just sort of let that sink in, let that trickle into your cells and into your cognition and into your past experience. Because a lot of people are trying to heal with these techniques, but then they fall short because they're not actually getting to that root core level that needs to be worked with, which is that somatic nervous system level, and not just the parasympathetic as rest digest, understanding the different branches and how our systems got wired based on our environment, based on our survival tactics, and then what we need to do now based on our current situation and our current environment. All right, that's it for today, everyone. Hope everyone is well. We'll talk to you next time.
All right, thanks for watching that. I hope that gave you a little nugget of information that might help explain something that you experience or maybe don't experience when you're trying to regulate and calm your breath. I have a few other resources on this topic. So if you're on YouTube watching this, in the Show More section will be an article, and I also will pop in a little bit of information on the polyvagal theory, because that was what I was explaining within that short Instagram live that I did a little while ago. Thank you for being here, and we will see you next time.